Meet the Candidates series. The Arc of Pennsylvania hosts an interview of Vito Malacari, candidate for Luzerne County's 119th House District, by Sarah Tagline, self-advocate. The Meet the Candidates series is an opportunity for individuals with intellectual and developmental disabilities and their families to hear from candidates on disability issues. Candidates from all parties have been invited to participate. The Arc of Pennsylvania is a non-partisan organization and does not endorse political candidates.
Hello, and welcome to another Meet the Candidates series hosted by the Arc of Pennsylvania. Today we have Vito Malacari. He's the Democrat candidate running for the Pennsylvania House 109th District of Luzerne County. He is running to replace retiring Representative Jerry Mullery. As a teacher in the area, Vito knows the importance of being engaged in his local community and its impact. Some of his key issues are supporting small business development, education, invest in local infrastructure, expand access to affordable health care, and protecting workers' rights. And also with us today, we have Sarah Tagline. Sarah Tagline is a self-advocate and works at the Arc of Pennsylvania as our administrative assistant. Sarah attended Millersville University Integrated Studies Program and Penn State's Harrisburg's Career Studies Program. In her free time, she enjoys reading, hanging out with her friends, and going to see plays. So welcome, Vito. We're glad to have you here today.
Thank you for
So
having me.
the Arc of Pennsylvania is the state's oldest, largest advocacy organization for people with intellectual and developmental disabilities. We are approaching our 73rd anniversary this year, and it's hard to believe that we have been here this long. But what makes us so strong is that we have 30 chapters across the Commonwealth. And with us today, we have Mary Claire Kretsch, who is the executive director of the ARC of NEPA, which really represents a very large section of Northeast Pennsylvania. So we're glad to have Mary Claire here with us today. I'm going to let Mary Claire say a few words, and then I'm going to turn it over to Sarah, and she's going to run the show for a while.
Thank you, Sherry. Good morning, Vito, and thank you for the opportunity to share the story of the Arc of Pennsylvania and the Arc of Northeastern Pennsylvania. As Sherry mentioned, we serve a number of counties in NEPA, including Luzerne. We have a full-time advocate that serves Luzerne County, and by an advocate, I mean that they are available to assist children and adults with developmental disabilities and their families to seek the educational opportunities and community supports that they certainly are entitled to and deserve. What I could tell you, Vito, our most concerning piece at this point, and the Arc of NEPA is 67 years old, and over the years, I've been here for 41 years, and we've always had issues in attracting and retaining career-minded staff because of wages. But today, the families that we serve, we are getting more and more advocacy requests because families can't obtain the services that they need for their individuals. And why? Because providers just don't have the staff necessary to provide safe and quality support. Can we support the people we serve currently? Absolutely. That's our responsibility. But to expand services is quite difficult in these times, and therefore waiting lists are growing. And that's unacceptable for us. So we look to you, we look to the legislator to provide the financial resources we need to do the work of the Pennsylvania government, and that is to support our vulnerable citizens with developmental disabilities. So Vito, that's about it in a nutshell that I could tell you, but I emphasize the crisis that we're in, and I know you hear about employers seeking employees, but this is critical. As a teacher, you're well aware of the teacher crisis. You know, we're in the same boat. We're in the same boat. And how do we do this job well? We can't do it without your support.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Questions from me?
No, I very much understand where you are coming from. I very much understand the need for finding, retaining, training quality individuals to serve people. And that is one of the things that we do need to work on in the legislature. And one of the things that I'd love to work on, whether it's serving your clients in schools, but serving those underserved populations plays at the heart of this whole campaign.
Thank you.
How will you advocate for people with intellectual and developmental disabilities and their families who are on the waiting list for community services?
So first and foremost, Sarah, thank you for having me here. Thank you for the question. The way I would advocate for those individuals with intellectual disabilities and physical disabilities and their families is simple. I want to be a voice. I want to be an ally. I want them to tell me what they need so I can go and work to obtain those services they need, whether it's staff and or more community placement opportunities, finding jobs, finding opportunities for those individuals and their families to have safe places to go to and turn to for individuals. I think it's important that the state legislature increases funding, that the state legislature increases their understanding of what the needs are for this specific community. While the ARC is 75 years old, I'm sure that through those 75 years, they've been underrepresented, especially in Harrisburg at different times. Increasing funding for those families so there's more community services and outreach is incredibly important. As a public school teacher, I see oftentimes families struggle to advocate for themselves or for their students. So we need to do better. We need to ensure that these individuals and these families receive the services that they need. My wife is a pediatric occupational therapist, oftentimes serving individuals with intellectual disabilities and physical disabilities. And there are countless stories of needing to expand services for students at the school district she works, but there's not enough money to hire another occupational therapist or speech therapist or physical therapist. So we need to fine tune the legislature so that we could better serve our populations.
What investment to explain long-term services and what support in their communities for people with intellectual and developmental disabilities will you advocate for?
So the first one I would advocate for is increased funding in our public schools, especially for more services for students with physical and intellectual disabilities. I teach at Northwest area, and while we do a very good job of identifying, advocating for, helping those students, there are more students that need services than ever before. However, we're stretched so thin because of budgetary constraints and restraints that oftentimes the need for more services is going to be cut or they're going to be lessened. So a long-term strategy, a long-term goal of mine is to increase funding for public school districts and specifically with special education so we can ensure that individual students and families receive the services they need and that are requested so that we could fulfill the needs and meet the needs of those individuals. Those establishing that foundation will only help each person along their life path. So that is to answer your first question. When it comes to community outreach, when it comes to community supports, it's the continuation of identifying through families and through supporters and allies within our communities, different places that we could use, different people that we could identify that could help us find community-based solutions for clients, for individuals to ensure that they lead the life that they want to, that they could follow the path that they so choose. And it's always about that choice and making sure that somebody is there if they need an advocate to be there for them. Being a self-advocate like you, Sarah, is phenomenal. That's incredible. And that's so amazing. But ensuring that we have proper constraints and proper pillars to hold up the promises that we make is also really important in this community-based practice, making sure that we don't let it fall by the wayside in a year or 2 years or 3 years, that we could sustain our investments throughout the lifetime of these individuals.
Will you support the closure of 4 remaining state centers?
Yeah, so doing a little research on the remaining state centers, one of them right here is in my backyard, not my district, but the Whitehaven Center. I do believe the ARC is right in wanting to continue these closures. However, the one thing that I do want to ensure is that it's done in a respectful manner. It's done in a manner that families understand and can find solutions for family members that are within these facilities in these centers. I want to make sure people are taken care of, understand why this is happening, and what options are upon the closure of these institutions. Too often, I've talked to people that are angry about these institutions, these centers closing, without fully seeing the picture of what those closures really mean. So ensuring that we are transparent, that there's information out there for families and people to understand the closing of these centers and why it's happening. I would advocate though that if there are some people do want to keep their family members or individuals, finding placements for them. So we need to ensure that we're finding those individuals, and if they feel like community-based therapy or community-based practices aren't best for them, or they're not fully sure about that we could reach out. Places like the ARC to reach out to those individuals and fully allow them to understand what is happening and how that's impacting people's lives. So I think a lot of this is the transparency, it's communication, and it's understanding.
How will you support to address the shortage of direct support professionals?
Yeah, we need to recruit, we need to retrain, and we need to find individuals that are career oriented and career minded. Being a teacher is the same as being an individual that we need to find to work within, the ARC of NEPA to help support these services. We need to understand that while these individuals are never going to become millionaires with the salaries, we do need to find them living wages, livable wages. We do need to ensure that there are career paths for them to grow, to ensure there are raises so they could support their own families, their own needs. We need to show people that this is not about being selfish and going to work for somebody that you're going to get rich off of, but rich off of and enriching their lives, helping them out, helping families out. We need to identify these individuals in high school and in college or outside of college that are already in the workforce that want to come in to this environment, that want to help people. We need to be able to pay for their training. We need to be able to eliminate their student debt if that's what's holding them back. We need to be able to put in the supports to increase and raise that wage at the state level so those individuals can support not only themselves, but their family as they're advocating, working on behalf of families and individuals with intellectual and physical disabilities. So raising the wage, introducing new structures for training, including eliminating student debt or making it community college free or colleges at low cost for these individuals, and giving them the respect they deserve by ensuring that they have paid holidays, making sure they have quality, affordable healthcare that's provided by the state, and recruiting these individuals so they can make careers out of this.
Vito, what action will you take to assist in reducing the risk of crime committed against people with intellectual and developmental disabilities?
Yeah, so we need to do better as a state, as a country, as a locality. When people are taken advantage of or exploited by individuals that are looking to perpetrate heinous crimes, whether it's spam or whether it's a physical crime, we need to do better. One thing that I would love to do is ensure that we have more activity from schools in having people with intellectual and physical disabilities understand what these scams may look like, so that families are educated, people are educated, so that if they see this happening, they could stop it before something worse happens. We also need to train local law enforcement. We need to train local therapists. We need to train local advocates that they continue updating their parameters for individuals and families to understand what these scams look like and what is happening. We need to ensure that individuals that perpetrate these crimes also pay for what they've done. And we need to create funds and access to those funds for the victims of these crimes.
How will you work to ensure the education system in Pennsylvania meets all the needs of all children, especially those with intellectual and developmental disabilities.
Absolutely. Do it every day. That'll never change. But it really comes down to funding. We need more funding because we need, just like you guys need more advocates, you need more personnel in schools, we do as well. So whether it's through coordination of local groups, school district and local groups, but we need to, in school districts, ensure that everybody gets that free and fair public education. And that's going to become with more funding, so we can bring more personnel in to give the attention and that is needed for each individual.
Vito, what way will you promote meaningful employment opportunities in your district for individuals with intellectual and developmental disabilities?
Yeah, so here in the 119th district in Luzerne County, I would love to set up programs for local businesses to hire individuals with intellectual and physical disabilities by, number one, providing them tax credits to bring on individuals to come work at their small businesses, medium-sized businesses, or large businesses. I think that's a meaningful way that employers can bring people in. They could create a great work environment, especially in small businesses, for individuals to come into. At Northwest area, I helped set up a small coffee shop for our life skills program. And the life skills teacher this year is opening now that we're moving through the stages of COVID. And we have a small business that our life skills class is going to run. And I think it's great. And it's something that I advocated for. It helped her set up as the local association president. So seeing the pride that those kids take in by working at that coffee shop daily shows the need that everybody deserves to have work they could be proud of and wants to be productive. So, making sure we have those tax credits and advocating for those individuals and saying they could do any job that anybody else can do. Bring them in. Let's teach, let's educate, and let's move forward with these companies to ensure that they're hiring people and not discriminating against individuals with intellectual or physical disabilities.
Thank you, Vito.
Thanks, Sarah.
The Meet the Candidates series is an opportunity for individuals with intellectual and developmental disabilities and their families to hear from candidates on disability issues. Candidates from all parties have been invited to participate. The ARC of Pennsylvania is a non-partisan organization and does not endorse political candidates.